Hello and welcome to Equality Start that again, shall I? Hello and welcome to Alcohol, Diversity and Inclusion. My name's Duncan Basker Ann Brown. Thanks for joining me on the first of 4 videos about alcohol, diversity and inclusion. What I want to talk about is how alcohol impacts inclusion and how that impacts diversity. Now, the next 3 videos, each one is going to cover a particular subject. The first one is going to cover the idea that there is a lot of alcohol that gets drunk around business events and why that is. Why is there such a link between alcohol and business? The second one is going to talk about exclusion and who feels excluded at business events where alcohol is involved. And finally, the last one is going to talk about the impact that alcohol has on businesses. Simply in terms of equality and diversity, I'm not going to talk about the broader impact. Otherwise, we'd probably be here all day. Just the impact in terms of inclusion and how that has a knock-on effect on diversity. So those are the next 3 videos. But this one, what I just want to do is give you a kind of general introduction to how alcohol impacts inclusion and how that impacts diversity. And I want to do that by telling you a story about somebody called Samara. Now, Samara has just finished university. She had a great time at university. She worked very, very hard. She worked hard on her studies, but she also worked hard to earn some money because, even students have got to pay the rent, and food is getting rather expensive these days, isn't it? So she worked hard at a part-time job while she was studying. She also worked hard at the sport that she absolutely loves, and she excelled in all of those areas. She represented the university at her chosen sport. She also came away with a first. So when she started looking out in the job market, she really did have the pick of it. She had a top-notch qualification from a top-notch university, a great CV to back it up, and an amazing work ethic. In short, she was exactly the kind of person that you'd want to employ. So yeah, she got a lot of offers, and she looked around and she carefully chose an employer who talked a lot about equality, diversity, and inclusion. And she picked one that talked the talk. And when she turned up on the first day, she did all of those kind of onboarding things, sign the forms, get your pass, meet a few people, all of that sort of stuff. And then at 3 o'clock, her and the other new starters were all called in the boardroom. And a few of the senior staff were there with quite a lot of alcohol. And the most senior person there informed them all that they had worked very, very hard to get where they had got today. And that was something that was worth celebrating. Celebrate that. They had got a bit of a bar together. So cheers, everybody. Have a good old drink and get to know each other and enjoy yourself. Now, this was met with a cheer from some of the other graduates who had just joined this company. Not so much Samara. Samara didn't really have much time to drink when she was at university. And even if she had, the society, the culture, the family that she came from, alcohol wasn't really a big part. So she wasn't really particularly bothered about drinking. In fact, she secretly would have rather got on with some work. She joined this company to do some work and she wanted to get started on the great opportunity that they'd given her. She didn't particularly want to stand around in a boardroom watching a bunch of young male graduates drinking a bit too heavily because, of course, after an hour or so, they started to get quite boisterous and what Samara thought was pretty annoying. So she just hung around feeling quite uncomfortable, wondering when it would be acceptable for her to go. Even if, she was going to go and do some work, she just wanted to get out of it. Now, I want you to consider that story for a second. I want you to think about that story and I want you to ask yourself a few questions. Firstly, how did Samara feel at that event? Pretty easy, isn't it? But you can, of course, take it one step further and you can say, do you think that increased Samara's feelings of belonging in that company? Do you think that event helped her to become convinced that she'd made the right decision, that she was joining the right company, that she was in the right place? And actually, do you think that helped her to think that this company was going to live up to its inclusion promise? All of the hype that it had on its website, all of the policy that it had so many press releases about. Do you think that she thought that that was going to help her to feel more included. But those are just the short term, aren't they? Those are just that event and that afternoon. What about if we take it a little bit further down the line? Do you think Samara is going to stay at that company, or do you think she's going to start looking around? But take it even further down the line, once Samara has become successful in her industry and she starts to become a bit of a role model, maybe a mentor to other young women of a similar socio-economic background, a similar ethnic origin, do you think she's going to wholeheartedly recommend that company? Or do you think she's going to start talking in very different terms? You see, alcohol really is the missing piece in equality, diversity, and inclusion. It is so important in terms of inclusion. And that is really what I want to talk about over the next few videos, really that impact on inclusion. So join me for the next part. In that, I'm going to cover why business and alcohol seem to be so incredibly linked. And I'm also going to talk a little bit about what you can do about it. So I will see you on the next video. Thanks very much for listening today.